What's up, guys? It's Shane and Arsh. Welcome back to another Gold Vine podcast.
And today we have a very special guest with us. So why don't you introduce yourself, man?
Yeah, my name is Daniel Rupawala. I'm a graduating senior right now, and I'm the CTO of Sups AI, which is a college admissions consultant firm that does like powers and democratizes educational resources for children who can't afford privatized college help.
Okay, so we're really pleased to have you with us today, especially working in AI, which is something that we've been wanting to get more information on, right? And
Mhm.
so what we really want to know is what inspired you and your company to start Subs AI. Can you explain it to our audience, who are mostly students, right? What your
Mhm.
product does and how it helps with college admissions in a more like simpler way.
Yeah, absolutely. So the inspiration for this was just basically like I was applying to college this year, and then last year the one of our other co-founders has a sister who's also applying around that time, and we realized no one really has the money to shell out like $20,000 for private
Yeah.
college consultants. So we decided to create an affordable option for them. And so basically what SUPS does is for your activities and your essay sections, we have an AI that's been trained off of each individual college. And so like let's say I'm applying to Harvard and I want to get in like early decision. Then we have a bunch of essays that have gotten in based off those profiles, and it'll help you
Cool.
critique your essay. We don't actually write anything for you because that's unethical, but it's like
Mhm.
pointers in the right direction based off of what admissions consultants and other people have been saying.
You know what? I find that really interesting because for me especially, like when I was trying to write my college essay, I think the hardest part was what you're talking about, brainstorming and then just getting feedback. Because like yeah, you get feedback from like four or five people and then it just gets redundant. But like I actually used your AI without actually knowing that you were the founder of it. And
Mhm.
so I feel like that's pretty cool. And the scalability of your AI, it's not like it's something little. It's something that's used by so many thousands of people across the world. So I know that must have been hard for you. So, what was the hardest part of starting your company, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I would say probably the hardest part was kind of getting over the hurdle of, oh, is it unethical to use AI in my college apps and kind of like getting around the trust factor. And I think a lot of that was just kind of getting a bunch of people to try it and then having them figure out that, oh, it doesn't actually write the essay for you. It's merely like a critiquing thing.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that came through our social media presence and then a lot of like customer interviews that we did. We probably talked to like over 1,000 students by now, had a ton of feedback like, oh, how do we streamline the site to make it look more trustworthy? How do we reach out to more people at your school? We have a bunch of ambassadors across like multiple countries too that are kind of talking about it in their schools, getting that spread. So I think it was just a lot of
And
like showing our face.
Wow.
yeah. So you really like knocked my question out of the water. What I was just about to ask. I was gonna ask like, because high school students, most of them
Yeah.
using AI for like in bad morals, and so how would you really like go with AI in this? But kind of knocked it like right off. So I'm not gonna ask that. But what makes Subsidy different than any other tools out there? Like, what are the coolest features you think with your product?
Yeah, okay. Honestly, I think our coolest feature is probably the inline editing. So this is something that's like only for premium. If you have like a free account, you can't use it.
Hmm.
But I think what the coolest part is you can highlight specific individual parts of your text, kind of like how you would leave a comment, but instead you can have full-blown conversations with the AI about that specific part. So like let's say I highlight just my intro. I'm like, "Oh, cool. Compare this to other Stanford applicants and then
That's so
find out
cool.
what they do in their intro versus me and like kind of like tell me what to do from there." And so to like compare you to past profiles in that just individualized portion.
You
And then
know, that's actually insane. Like hearing this right now, it actually just makes me want to use it for my own college essay. So I definitely recommend this to anyone, and I'm not even lying. Like that's something I'd actually use because first of all, you deal with the fact that using ChatGPT and things like that are unethical. But then when you go on your website, you have something which like ChatGPT, Gemini AI tries to do, but you solve the issue for us where it's like, is it unethical or not? And you did that for us. So that's something I'm definitely going to use. So I heard that you talked about networking and how you need to reach out to so many people to try to first bring the scalability higher. So you want to bring it to like one person using it, two people using it, 4, 8, 16, 32, things like that. And you brought it all the way up to, I think you have 11K followers on Instagram. So
Mhm.
that's kind of crazy. And I'm sure you know how many people are using your database.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, how did you do that? So basically, my question is, how hard or how easy was networking for you? And what advice would you give to people who are trying to network and maybe build their own startup? And how important is it to
Mhm.
reach out to people? And yeah, basically, networking. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think this is kind of a broad question. So, like,
Yeah.
in terms of networking as in marketing and stuff for getting a lot of students to get onto it, I think definitely go TikTok and Instagram, especially for people
For
like
sure.
founding B2C startups. So if you're trying to get, especially like high school and college students, TikTok's probably your best bet. Like I started a
Yeah.
TikTok channel a couple of weeks ago and now it's
Right.
at like 1,500 followers now. So it's doing pretty
Wow.
good. But just like having those accounts, finding your niche, and then just getting like as many people as you can to kind of see your face,
Wow.
obviously following trends, that kind of thing. And then on
Hmm.
like the business to business side, we did do a lot of marketing with like big firms, then also a couple
Wow.
people at like, Khan Academy and so on, just to kind of get a feel for the market.
Wow.
And so I think
So
like
cool.
for that one, just reach out. I honestly think like not enough people take action when it comes to those kinds of
Hmm.
things. So just take like the send a cold email and most likely you'll get a response. But
It's
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
It's like
I
what I
think
did with you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you're obviously a really hardworking high school senior. I mean, more than most. I mean, that's like pretty obvious, and it's only gonna get worse from there. And work, and your work life balance. How do you really manage with that? I mean, gonna go to college. You guys probably so much work to do as a high schooler, and you're also managing a business. Um, yeah. What do you do with the work life balance?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good question. I find that balance isn't the right word to describe this kind of thing. I think contrast is a better word. So I think
Mhm.
as long as you're like engaged and enjoy what you're doing, like I really enjoy coding, right? So like as the
Yeah.
person who's building most of the platform, I actually enjoy what I'm doing and like, kind of like messing around with the code, building cool things. And then at the same time, like when it comes to schoolwork, right now at least, I'm taking a bunch of classes that I enjoy and like going into college as well, especially in like going into CS, that'll be classes that I enjoy as well. So I think as long as it's just like capitalizing on what you're able to do, and then contrast as well, just like try not to do the same thing over and over again. So as much as like work life balance comes into play, spend like really hard days in the gym at the same time
Yeah.
as like
Yeah.
taking it super seriously while coding.
Right.
So you get like a breadth of activities rather than just like hunkering down on one.
You know, I agree, and I love how you said like kind of like enjoying yourself in the balance. Like before this, you told me you had a pickleball tournament, and like you said, work hard in the gym and also work hard in everything else. And I agree with you 100%. So
Mhm.
basically for me, right, I started to learn how to code in 10th grade. So it's not like, there's so many people who are learning in first grade, second grade,
Yeah.
third grade, like when they're younger now. And I just think it's so great to see, especially with the technology that's rising. So for you, if someone was trying to learn how to code, or maybe try to build their own app, I should say, because I feel like there's a lot of YouTube videos just learning how to code
Yeah.
in general. But for you, what three tips would you give someone trying to code an app or a website or something just trying to scale it in AI? Would Python, Java, C++? What part of coding do you think is the best to learn if you're trying to build an app, website, or something in AI like you?
Okay. I think definitely go Python if you're talking about
Right.
languages,
Uh huh.
but I would say honestly just start building. Like I think the
Right.
best advice for anybody is like forget all the YouTube tutorials and stuff. Like don't waste your time spending hours of like preparation or trying to figure out what to do. Just like once you have an idea, build it. If it sucks, it's fine. Like that's your first one. And like have a bunch of people try it, get feedback, iterations, and then continue working on it and just you'll get better with time and like practice, familiarity with the language. So I would say
Hmm.
just like start building. Don't wait
Absolutely.
like try and learn so much, right?
Hmm.
All right. So all right, you talk really professionally about all this. I was just wondering, like personally, is this your first like business that you worked on? Because
No.
finding this much success early on is not really.
Yeah, no. I made a software like social media startup back in middle school, and then I sold
Mm,
it for six figures in freshman year.
wow.
What?
So yeah,
In middle school.
on my first run. And then
That's
yeah,
crazy.
so that was pretty cool. That was like less coding than it was like actually, being a startup owner. But that was a lot of fun. That was like my intro to CS as well. And then obviously I've taken seven CS classes too.
Oh
So
wow.
Damn.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what was it? I'm actually really curious. Six figures, like what really was it? Like you just gave us a
yeah.
rundown of what Subs AI is. What was the six-figure business which you sold?
Yeah. So I made like an underground marketplace for a lot of because at the time I ran a really big meme page, right? So I think I had over all of my accounts around 4 to 5 million followers. And so
Oh my.
I sold all of those accounts and I sold like an underground marketplace that influencers were using to try and get and buy ads like low key under the radar kind of thing.
Yeah.
But obviously fully legal. But like it was just like kind of like one of the things that only
Yeah.
influencers and stuff would know about. And so that was pretty cool. I think that specific site had around like $80,000 in traffic just like going over it in terms of like escrow. But yeah, I sold like the marketplace and I sold all of the accounts and like any celebrities that I was managing at the
Yeah.
time.
That's actually, I think that is so cool because someone in high school right now who's trying to start their own thing and then hearing things like that. I mean, it's like low key inspiring because like, if you could do it at such a young age, why can't everyone else?
Yeah.
So no, I'm for real. And you know how you said it, where you had a bunch of Instagram pages with so many followers.
Mhm.
So what I see from you is that not only are you skilled in the more technical side, you're skilled at marketing and like just targeting the younger generation because that's the people who use the social media the most. So
Mhm.
for someone who's trying to market, for example, right, our podcast, how would you give advice for someone trying to market their own business, their AI, like their AI company, maybe even just their TikTok page in general? Like for me, I have my own like Orlando Magic fan page, where
Mhm.
like I just post Orlando Magic stuff on it. So like, what do you think would help someone trying to market their page, a business, or AI company?
Yeah, so I would say like right now, definitely focus on short form content. I think there's no
Mhm.
like one size fits all kind of big answer that you're looking for.
Yeah,
Honestly, we've talked to a lot of like huge influencers nowadays. Like I'm sure you guys, Limmy Talks, like the guy who,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly, who like reads college
right,
profiles.
right. Yeah.
And a piece of advice from him was he posted, I think it was 1,000 videos before he blew up. So I would say it's just literally just keep iterating, posting as many videos as you can, and like don't give up. TikTok's sometimes very rewarding. Sometimes your video gets like 10 views. So it's
Yeah.
like don't give up if you or like originally flop. Just
Right.
keep pushing through, and eventually something will take off as long as you're posting relatively high quality, like engaging content. So I think there's no like secret key to social media. It's just consistency.
You know, I know we're really like getting out of I guess the AI thing, but
Oh, you're
I'm just
good.
so yeah. I'm just so interested in the way where like it wasn't to me. I think you're a great coder, but you're an even better marketer. With your background, I just feel like the amount of success you've had marketing the product, and I think marketing is extremely important. And you just proved it right here. Where like you could take something underground, like I don't want to say illegal, but underground, which isn't even like I guess as innovative as an AI and make it into something successful, right?
Mhm.
So as you said with TikTok, right? You use TikTok and everyone knows TikTok. You use Instagram, and is there anything else would you try to use to help market your things? Like or is it just Instagram, TikTok? Do you use maybe any other apps or is it just those two which you mainly try to put your maybe ads on or try to market there?
Yeah, so we're definitely taking a bigger focus on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. But I think LinkedIn is super interesting for more B2B companies. I think it's a little bit less so for us because we're targeting high schoolers, but that's
Mhm.
definitely like a shout for a lot of people who are looking to like
Right.
break into software. And then Google Ads is pretty good. We're still
Mhm.
testing around with Google and Facebook ads right now, so I can't give you a definitive answer. But I
Mhm.
do think like Google Ads definitely has some merit to it, and like that's something we're gonna explore more going in
Mhm.
to marketing platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So I just want to go back to subs.
Mhm.
I haven't really like I know he found out about your thing before we even heard about you, but for someone like me, that's not something I really heard about, but also I haven't really heard of any product like it. So I feel like AI coming out as something so big, like
Mhm.
very recently, as it's growing, like there's so many companies building new AI startups. You're kind of in an untapped kind of region, helping people with college admissions. Have you found that you've had a lot of competition in that kind of area, or are you kind of like the first person really innovating it?
We do have a lot of like other firms that are trying to do something similar. There are a couple other competitors, but I think each one nowadays it's starting to filter down, especially because we're getting into like the
Yeah.
long run and outside of like the big AI bubble. But there definitely is competition here.
Right.
I just, I think we're a pretty solid product to like pit against the other ones too. So I think
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a matter of marketing to see who wins. And I think like
Absolutely.
we'll see who wins like this
Yeah.
game. But yeah.
I think you're already winning with like such a young age. Like you have people who are 30, 40 years old making it, but you're already a part of the young generation. You have a head start in marketing. You know the trends. Like honestly, you know the trends. You know the slang. You know what to put to help market it. But other than marketing, what sets your like? If you had to pick three things, let's pick three things that sets your AI apart, Subs AI apart. Other than all the AI tools to help with college admissions, what sets Subs AI apart?
Yeah, so I think this is actually a pretty good question. I would say the bigger thing, and like obviously what I think is the most important thing for our platform specifically, is the fact that we have so many other past profiles that we're like comparing you to and then critiquing you off of, right? all the other ones are like basically just a wrapper on ChatGPT or something like that. You know, maybe a fine-tuned model, but most of them will have similar quality to any like super advanced AI model. But what I think is super interesting about subs is that we have the ability to compare you to past profiles, and oftentimes like it'll actually be cited in the feedback that you're getting, like, oh, compared to X person who got into Stanford last year or got into like Harvard last year. And so I think that like direct one-to-one comparison with the other past profiles, because we have so much more data than other companies, because we're working with a couple like big admissions firms. And so I think that's what makes it like a step above a lot of the other platforms that are just simple like text output feedback that you'd be able to get from like Grammarly or just regular ChatGPT.
Mhm.
So I think that kind of like fine tuning and direct comparison isn't something
Yeah.
that you can replicate in any other like regular chat window or other like platforms, right? And I think some of the
Mhm.
other things would be like intricate features. We do activities, which is something not a lot of other like
Wow.
platforms do. And then I think that like inline highlighting that I talked about earlier is another feature that a lot of other platforms lack that I think is pretty cool.
Wow.
That's it's really really cool, honestly. I really like what you do. That's really interesting. I wanted to go into like what your thoughts are of education on the college level when it comes
Mm,
to what you're doing. I think a lot of people are going to college hoping for college to build them, right? But you see like some of the most successful people in the world, they were already built before they went to college. Like people are trying to go to Harvard so that they could become a Harvard student, but they don't understand like people who are there were already Harvard students. Like they're already
mm.
growing beyond when they first got there. So, what is your feeling on college? Do you think like that college education is something that you're really going for because you're already so advanced in like everything? Like really for you, I feel like better than most. If you didn't go to college, you'd still be ahead just because you're dry, right? So, do you think it's just something for like networking, or is it? Are you really going there for the knowledge now?
I mean, I think there's like a lot of facets that I can't really comment on because I'm not in college, right? I
Yeah,
haven't been through the curriculum yet, so I can't really be like, oh, this isn't useful or this is useful. I think a lot of schools, especially those that, are bigger, like let's say UT Austin, right? Like I'm in Texas right now. UT is like dream school for a lot of people, and this applies to pretty much every IB and like big school as well. They have a lot of intricate programs and just kind of like the atmosphere of being at one of those colleges surrounded
yeah,
by people who are like extremely smart is something that can't really be replicated anywhere else. So I
yeah,
think it's maybe it is less so about the education for a lot of people who are, like already building their own startups. Because yeah, I know how to code pretty well. Like a lot of the beginner CS classes probably won't hold much merit for me. But I do think being involved in like, like the CS clubs or like being involved in any of
Sure.
the startup like adventures or
Yeah.
like for example UT has like started their startup labs and stuff like that. Like Convergent is another big example at UT that like organizations that would help me along much further and like give me, a lot more connections or networking than I would be without having that college education. So I think if you weigh everything, like yeah, I definitely do want to go to college, and regardless of where I go, I think it'll be like an exciting adventure. But it's kind of like harkens back to the whole contrast thing too, right? If I just sat in my room all day and like coded, I'd probably have a lot of good products, but that human connection, especially in like an environment like a
yeah.
college, is something that just really can't be replicated. So I think that's like something important and to look forward to.
That's a great answer because I know a lot of people, like even my friends, people on TikTok all over the place. You see it on Instagram. I guess they devalue college, but what they don't understand is they haven't been through it by someone who's so successful as you. And I just love your viewpoint on it. So when people ask, like, should I go to college or should I not go to college? And they talk about like the education standpoint of it, I see that they fail to talk about what you just talked about human interaction and like just maybe networking in general. So that's great. And I don't want to hold you here for too long. I
You're
know
good.
we're going, yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna have one last question. We do this in every podcast. I want you to give one piece of advice you'd give to any students or the younger generation, or maybe not even the younger generation, because you're so ahead of everyone, right? Like, what advice would you give someone trying to have their own startup, tech startup, any type of maybe they just want to be a leader, a rising leader? What advice would you give them?
Hmm. I would say try. I think a lot of people are very afraid of kind of like taking that first step because they're afraid of looking stupid or, like
Right.
trying something dumb. I think like this is like a very easy example is when I first started that TikTok and I had like 7 followers, a lot of people made fun of me for like putting SAT questions out there or reading other people's college essays. But
Mhm.
now I think, you have a couple like Gohar's guide has like 3 million followers and does the same thing that I do. And so it's like that kind of like don't wait for social proof for what you're working on. be the
Mhm.
person who is that social proof, right? Like
Yeah.
start, just start, take that first step forward because I think a lot of people are too afraid to kind of like go into the deep end of the water. So just
Yeah.
jump and like kind of like have fun with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like another thing is like have fun with whatever you're
Right.
doing because you're not here for that long. Might as well enjoy what you're doing, right? Don't be like one of those
Yeah.
kids who's super sad about their work. But
Right.
yeah,
And you know what? That's low key really inspiring for someone like who right now on Instagram has like 50 followers. On YouTube,
yeah,
we have like I think like 10, like less than that maybe. And that's inspiring for someone like who we're just trying to reach out to people. We're just trying to start our own thing. And maybe like not in your case where people make fun of us, but we're definitely I know people are judging us. They're like, what are we
yeah,
doing?
Oh,
So
I've heard it at school, man.
yeah, so uh, I feel like what you said is so real. We have people come on the podcast and they give us advice, and we love it. But you kept it so real. Like, just try, and
yeah.
you know what? I'll keep trying.
All right, good.
So
I'm gonna keep you to
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And I've heard that too, because I think what most people don't understand is if this world went on without people like innovating and doing things that people were gonna think was weird, nothing would change, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, who really thinks that like that Elon Musk, for instance, right? Like his most
Yeah.
recent project, like the robots, right? Those I mean, dude, people are gonna think we're gonna think that was weird until it came out, and then maybe one day it'll be something big. But like
hmm
everything that's ever became new and innovative would
yeah.
start off as like something that
It's
people
like the
never
iPhone.
thought of. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
People
gonna be
made fun of
weird,
Steve
right?
Jobs. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I really like how you said that, and so we'd like to thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, like this was a really great podcast. You really shared some
This might be my favorite one. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
you
lie. This
shared
is my
some great
favorite one.
things that most
Yeah,
other of our
yeah,
interviewees, people we've
yeah,
interviewed, didn't really give on
yeah.
talk about. I
I
think
feel like you kept
because
it real. He kept it real.
yeah, because most people we're talking about are really more on like the business side. They know like they're more technical with it, whereas you have like a mix of both technical
Yeah,
aspects, but the
yeah, okay.
charismatic,
Yeah.
like
It's like fun to listen to you
yeah.
talk.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, and I forgot. Shane just forgot. If you want to put your plug, like where can people find you? Because you talked about reaching out, and I reached out for you, and you answered me. So where can people find you? Maybe your Instagram for maybe your
And your
businesses,
website. Yep.
your
Yeah.
website, and maybe just you personally.
Yeah, so my personal Instagram is just Daniel Rupawala. That's just like spelled out. And then
Right.
for subs, it's just subs.ai. If you guys want, text me after. I'll give you guys a little discount code if you want to put like Goldvine and they can get like
Okay.
20-30% off or something. And
Oh,
then,
okay. I'll put that. I'll post on YouTube and
yeah,
Instagram.
exactly. Yeah,
I
yeah.
got it.
I'll personally use the code too.
Ah, there we
Yeah,
go.
for sure. Yeah.
No, yeah.
We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course. Yeah, so just subs.ai for
Yeah.
subs as well.
Bro, we need more people like you who just keep it real. Like, I feel like whenever we do podcasts, most people just like, they're technical, but we appreciate you keeping it real. And, we want to thank you, Daniel, so much. And we want to thank everyone watching, whether, as Daniel said, it could be it could be one person, how he started off with 7 followers, or it could be the 11,000 plus followers he has right now on Subs AI, We appreciate everyone watching, and we appreciate you personally. So we want to thank you, and that's how
so
we're going to
much.
end the podcast. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, man.
Of course. See you guys.
See you.
All right.